everyone. It is 10th. morning, everyone. Welcome to City Hall, welcome to Council Chambers, and welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Tuesday, October 14th, 2003. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Meetings are open to the public, and we do invite you to join us. For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on your cable station, Channel 35. We can also be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Weisstein, Padilla, 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Before beginning with the business of today, this being Tuesday and the first meeting of the week, as is customary, we do have a Pledge of Allegiance scheduled. Let me recognize Councilmember Villaraigosa for an introduction.
Yes, Mr. President, members, I have with me the Eagle Rock football team, who are here on a civics assignment, visit how their city government works, and with us are some of our finest city leaders, and we'd like the captain of that football team, Grayson Matevosian, to do the pledge, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, also with us, Mr. President, is the principal of Eagle Rock High School, a man we're very proud of. He was hired or assigned to Eagle Rock in December, and I can tell you he's been an active community leader, not just a leader at the high school there. Juan Flecha is with us. And our coach here is Jerry Chow. Jerry, can you stand up? And I can tell you that this is a team. Eagle Rock, is, many of you know, has had a long history of sporting great ball teams. And Mr. Laban said it best when he played football at Marshall. He said whenever you played an Eagle Rock team, they had heart and character. They played for 4 quarters, and he knows because he was a very accomplished center and defensive lineman. 1 and 2 against Eagle Rock, see? So we want to welcome the Eagle Rock football team. Thank you. Civics is very important. Getting a feel for how your city government works is something that we believe all our young people should have that experience. So thank you all so much. And to the parents who are here with us, thank you for accompanying the young people today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. I have a question for Mr. Labange. Is it possible to be a high school football player and grow up to be on the city council?
Oh, it certainly is. It's very possible. And then you can throw the football right across there and have Roosevelt catch it. But the key, Mr. President, is being a good student and having great coaches. I know your co-coaches, Coach Wall played against me when he was at Eagle Rock, and your parents for bringing you down here, because someone brought me down here when I was your age, and it's a very great honor to serve the city. But being great athletes and leaders on your campus, to do good at Eagle Rock High School, just as Antonio Villaraigosa said, is so important. Congratulations to the Eagles.
So thank you, Mr. Labange. I want to thank the young men for being here. Madam Clerk, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Ms. Perry moves and Mr. Labange seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Reyes moves and Mr. Garcetti seconds.
On the regular agenda, Mr. President, items 1 through 5 are items noticed for public hearings, and these are ordinances either confirming or abandoning street lighting districts.
Colleagues, items 1 through 5 now before us. I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Therefore, we shall open and close the public hearings. Are there members wishing to call any specials? Items 1 through 5. Items 1 through 5, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 6 through 10 are also public hearing items. Council should open the hearing and continue the hearings and ordinances to November 4th.
Colleagues, items 6 through 10 now before us. Again, do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Are there any specials, items 6 through 10? If not, then public hearings are open and without objection continue to November 4th. Next items, please.
Item 11 is a public hearing item. It's an ordinance, and Planning Land Use Management Committee waived consideration.
Okay, item 11 now before us, and do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Any discussion on item 11? We have no cards on item 11. Any members wishing to call this item special? Seeing none, please on item 11. Let's open the roll on item 11, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 12 is a Housing Community Economic Development Committee report. It's also a public hearing item.
Okay, and I do not have speaker cards on item number 12. Public hearing is open on item number 12. Public hearing is closed on item 12. Any members wishing to call item 12 special? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Items 13 through 36 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Colleagues, items 13 through 36 now before us. Any specials, Ms. Han?
I'd like to call item 15 special, please.
15 call special by Ms. Han. Mr. Labange.
Number 30, please.
30 call special by Mr. Labange. Ms. Perry.
29.
29 call special by Ms. Perry. 36 call special by Mr. Garcetti.
Making our minutes now, huh? That's good.
Any other specials?
And item
Mr.
number
Villaraigosa?
Item 51.
Okay, almost there.
Item number 13 is also confirmation of the city engineer and the salary recommendation. Do you wish to hold that on the desk and call that special?
Let's hold that on the desk. Colleagues, I have items 13 through 36 currently before us. Called special are item 13, 15, 29, 30, and 36. Any other specials? Seeing none on the balance of the items and recognizing we have no speaker requests satisfying the public hearings, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, please close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item, please.
Items 37 through 64 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
37 through 64 now before us. 51 special for Mr. Villaraigosa. We do have cards on item 38, so let's call that item special. On the balance of the items, I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council satisfying the public hearings. Are there any specials? Any other requests for specials, items 37 through 64? Mr. Zine?
61.
61 call special by Mr. Zine.
Mr. President, item number 61, Mr. Zine wishes to continue that for one day to October 15th.
Okay, as opposed to special, it's a one-day continuance. Is there any objection to a one-day continuance on item 61? Seeing Mr. Labange, you object to the continuance? Okay, without objection, item 61 is continued. Mr. Labange.
Number 60, please.
60 call special by Mr. Labange. Any other requests for specials? Seeing none on the balance of the items, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
On the supplemental agenda, item number 65 is an item for which public hearing has not been held.
Mr. Villaraigosa?
Before we do that, Mr. President, members, I neglected to introduce a very special young man. He's going to be one of my interns. His name is Brian Holland from Marlton School, Marlton School in LAUSD. He's a young man who's overcome great adversity, and we're very excited and proud to have him. If I could introduce him here. You can say.
Welcome aboard. Welcome to the city family. Colleagues, we now have item 65 before us, and public hearings has not been held. We do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on item 65. Are there members wishing to call 65 special? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 eyes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 13, Mr. President, was called special, and that's the confirmation of city engineer and salary recommendation by the EERC.
Okay. Colleagues, item 13 now before us. We do have a committee report recommending approval. Is there any discussion at this time? Mr. Labange, questions for our future city engineer here.
Yeah, thank you very much. From the president and engineer to the would-be engineer in just about a moment there. I want to thank you for your service to the city and how you articulated so many projects so well, and you're the selection of Mayor Hahn to lead us in our Bureau of Engineering. Tell me your vision of engineering and the importance of the over 1,000 people who work for the City of Los Angeles Bureau of Engineering.
I want to make a very important contributions to the city to make it a better place to live. And the way I want to do that is lead the Bureau of Engineering to deliver its projects and its services as efficiently as possible, using technology and also working with other departments and bureaus to find efficiencies in these very tough times.
What are some of the biggest challenges about infrastructure in the age? Because now our city's 222 years old. Our modern infrastructure really has been replaced from the turn of the century, but now it again is calling for need.
So much of the infrastructure was built after World War II. We're at that 50-year mark, which is kind of where we're starting to see a lot of deterioration. And unfortunately, after we built it, the funding went away, and we have lots of needs in our streets, in our storm drains, and continued in our fire stations and police stations. Many needs. We look forward to delivering the engineering services possible to rehabilitate and build new facilities.
Thank you. I knew Gary when he was, I don't even know if you were a deputy engineer when you started the wastewater program, but you did an absolutely tremendous job in helping us in the wastewater, stormwater program. The leadership to the Bureau of Engineering, and I see many deputy city engineers here, which is a great group of talented people to help and behind you, but also the effort that you would make to in so many of our public buildings. And I have to say our libraries, because I'm so proud of the work of the library department in conjunction with the Bureau of Engineering to get all these libraries built on time, under budget, in a very effective way. I thank you, members. I call for great support for this new city engineer to go on with all the many great city engineers who've led us before.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Colleagues, I have quite a queue here for item 13. Next to speak is Ms. Misikowski, followed by Mr. Reyes, Mr. Garcetti, Mr. Smith, Ms. Gruhl, and Mr. Zine. Before calling on Ms. Misikowski, if I can also ask members for your patience and cooperation. It's getting a little loud behind the horseshoe here. Any conversations that need to be had, if you can have them either in the rear of chambers or on the side. Let's try to keep the area behind the horseshoe clear. And if I can ask the audience as well to monitor your conversations. It gets loud in here. Ms. Misikowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Gary.
Morning.
There's been no question that over the last number of years, particularly with all our bond projects, the Bureau of Engineering has become literally the leader in terms of getting these projects delivered, not only our capital projects, but as Mr. Labange indicated, our stormwater and wastewater projects. One of the things, having grown up in this system, that I found always most helpful in the Bureau of Engineering, and I just want to put a word for them and actually see your perspective, is the district offices. The district offices are the ones who have the engineers who can get out, look at the issues, look and identify, and help then be the champions for getting a project to the attention of the downtown entities, the attention of the need for an important project that needs to be funded right now. And in the many, many years when we've had serious problems, whether it was the El Nino condition, heavy rains, we start to see infrastructure collapse. It's been our local district engineers who've been out there, literally Johnny on the spot, literally overnight if necessary, to deal with safety issues. So again, just your perspective, I know that there's been an awful lot of centralization in the department, in the Bureau, but what is your view in terms of the districts and having strong support at the Bureau, at the district levels?
We're very much committed to our district offices, and actually the two top unfreeze requests we have are to unfreeze the managers at our Harbor District and at our downtown district offices, because we know the value of them to all of the constituents and the familiarity they have with the surrounding council offices. So we're very much committed, and as we're going through this budget process, we're looking at ways to make sure that we do not take resources away, but to continue to strengthen our district offices.
Thank you. Again, I want to commend the Bureau overall. I think particularly as we were having some issues, for instance, in Prop K and Recreation and Parks, that the Bureau stepped in, took over the delivery of those projects, and is just delivering a massive amounts of good quality projects throughout the city. It's palpable. People see it and feel good about it. I don't know that they know that the Bureau is the one who's there delivering it, whether we open the libraries or the parks, but that you are now is something that I think should help elevate you to the prominence as a bureau that you deserve. And as I said, if we particularly can keep that grassroots touch strong, it's important, because we need to build the projects through centralization, but the knowing where the problems are comes at the lowest level, the grassroots, and those connections are very palpable, and it's nice to hear that those are your two top priorities for unfreeze. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to congratulate you. 2 years ago when I started office, one of our first meetings, we were getting together with Troy. We talked about how do we get out of the mindset of building factories at the end of the pipeline as we deal with water treatment, and I appreciated our conversation. You showed a lot of initiative. You showed a lot of creativity in how we can look at these issues. So together with Public Works, we have a big challenge before us, given the changes and the table we need to set for the future of how we rethink the use of land along the river for all of its needs from a regional point of view. So for that, I thank you. But I do have one question, and it's about coordination. And I'll give you a case example. I have a roadway in Montecito Heights. About, I'd say, 200 feet of it, the earth underneath has eroded. Half the road has collapsed. We have red tag buildings. What's the coordination between yourself, your department, and Public Works in addressing these issues? Can you just kind of go over that real quick? Please hold my time.
In Public Works, we usually deal with from curb to curb. Building and Safety usually deals with the private property and red tagging, but all the time our geotechnical division is working with our Building and Safety friends to see what we can do, make suggestions. So we never look at when there's a gray area or whatever. We definitely, our attitude is, let's step up, let's help out, because we're dealing with homes and families, and let's not get caught in bureaucracy. So we try to make it transparent to the public.
Great. I plan to take the Public Works Commissioner with me to the site, and I want to show them how bad it's deteriorated. That roadbed on that hillside is literally eroded, it's gone, and half the road has already collapsed. It's an emergency situation. I want to move on that, and it's something I look forward to working with you. But I just want to understand the coordination there, because I know I did some of the work in Mount Washington when some of those road beds were falling apart, and I have this big challenge in Montecito Heights. So thank you for your support and your leadership and the freshness and new perspectives and how we can think out of the proverbial box. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Moore, nice to see you. Congratulations. I just wanted to thank you for coming and spending time and talking, and just let you know that I'm very supportive, first of all, of your nomination. It's great to see somebody from within being elevated. I think it's great for the Bureau, and congratulations to the entire Bureau for that accomplishment. We've had good folks come in from the outside, but to see one of our own be elevated, it's definitely time for that. Could you let me know a little bit about some of your technology needs? And I know it's so critical for the Bureau to be able to stay up on the latest technology and for our projects to be able to go smoothly. And we always are sometimes penny wise, pound foolish with technology, but what some of those coming needs are, both structurally, perhaps in your upper management organization, as well as the actual computers and hardware that you're going to need.
when it comes to computers, we pride ourselves on trying to always be a leader in technology, and all of our designs are done on CAD. And it's very important for us to have the latest equipment when it comes to the computers and software. We're also in our permitting to make us as efficient as possible with the public, our internet applications, so the programming and the programs that are necessary to provide that. Structurally, obviously, one of the priorities will be we have a wonderful Bureau executive team. With my hopeful confirmation here this morning, there'll be a vacancy, and with the Bureau delivering approximately $350 million worth of projects this year, we'd like to fill in that position, so that will become another priority for us. And we look forward to making that team, because you're only as good as your team is, and so it's very important to fill that.
Well, I hope we can be supportive of that as a council for you. I also hope, too, in your position as city engineer, that we'll really look, and I know we discussed this, but at our sustainable building and our green building, which we've passed, the largest city in America to have these green building standards, but to make sure that we have the staff to be able to do the implementation of that. And I know that staff is doing that on a case-by-case basis, but anything we can do to help coordinate that and strengthen that, too, to go, beyond just compliance and really be more at the cutting edge. And I think, Los Angeles has the potential to be a leader to other cities as well and a resource for them if we're able to strengthen that. So please, call on us to do that as well, to reaffirm that commitment that this council has made as well. But otherwise, urge everybody to support Mr. Moore, and I'll certainly be voting for it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Gary, good to see you again. As chairman of the Public Works Committee, I had the opportunity to participate in the review of Gary as well as other candidates. I just want the council to know that we had some excellent candidates from other cities around the country that were just really superb. But what Gary stood out in his ability is the understanding of the organization that we have now, and that we'd done so many good things in there, but there was a need to continue that growth process. And so the committee was very, very pleased with Gary's selection. We know that you understand what needs to be done in this organization. We were very satisfied with your answers to the questions we had about it, and I know you'll continue the great tradition that Vit started, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So the only question I have to you is, as we face some very severe budget concerns in the coming weeks and months, is there anything your organization has to have to make it continue to grow, or are you satisfied with what you've got, that you're able to keep the progress going with the static organization that you have right now?
I guess I'd answer that in two parts. I guess technology is very vital to us. It's allowed us to see the efficiencies. 10 years ago, we were at 1,600 people. Now we're down to 1,000. A lot of that has to do with, of course, the wonderful commitment by the Bureau employees, but also technology. So I think to continue to advance that. And then there are some strategic key unfreezes that we need around our organization that will allow us to keep advancing our process improvement mentality throughout the Bureau. So it's two things for me, really.
Okay. Given that we're going to be discussing in Mr. Parks' committee very shortly budget constraints, that a lot of our departments have overspent their budget authorities quite a bit, and we're going to be talking about additional constraints. Now, you said your organization went from 1,600 to 1,000. At the same time, we added Prop K projects onto your staff, which, as Ms. Miskowski said, you did a marvelous job. Are you going to be able to continue to perform those Prop K projects with that limited staff without any increases?
Our preliminary analysis has showed that with our existing staff, we'll be able to maintain the level of service we're providing to the city and its citizens. We're always trying to do it as efficiently as possible. We don't see a need to grow in our staff at this time, but we definitely hope to keep it where it's at. We've gone through tremendous cuts, and obviously it's much easier to squeeze all the big ones out of the way. Doesn't mean that we can't find more, but it's definitely getting more difficult with every year that passes.
Thanks, Gary. I think that warmed the cockles of Mr. Park's heart, and certainly the members of the committee, and that you said very clearly that you're able to perform the job you have with the staff you have, understanding the constraints we all have. And I think that was an important decision when we made you the general manager. So congratulations, and our committee wholeheartedly supported him, and we look forward to great work from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been having, Gary, every time I've seen you in the last week, said we were going to really grill you on Tuesday. So I hope you had nightmares thinking about how we're going to grill you. But I think what you've seen from my colleagues is a real true interest in you, and particularly the department. And a lot of mention, as Mr. Smith discussed, which is on the Prop K projects, which since coming to Bureau of Engineering have really, I think, been managed quite well, although we have a lot of projects in the queue that are very important to many of us around this horseshoe. And I know tomorrow in council, we are going to be acting upon putting more of the Prop K onto the Bureau of Engineering, and I'm assuming that you are supportive of that. I think we're also going to provide you with additional staff to manage it. But I wanted to stand up and in concert with my colleagues to say how appreciative we are of your years of service, and that think you're going to bring experience to this job that's going to be very helpful in us ensuring that we are able to get our police stations, our fire stations, our recreation centers, and other facilities built in a timely and cost-efficient manner, which is of utmost importance to all of us. So we wish you well, and I support your nomination and approval today, and look forward to working with you, and know that we are also here not only to challenge you, but to be here for assistance, so that you should know, come to us when there are problems or issues that we can help with, and just look forward to working with you more closely. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning.
I remember the first time we met was at that dinner, architects, engineers, something like that, and you expressed your interest in this position. And it seems yesterday we had that conversation, and here you are on the threshold of becoming the new general manager. I know your dedication to the city. You've got big shoes to fill. Vic did a tremendous job, and I know that you were, as part of that management team, helping that come about. I just want to wish you success. I know your heart is in this. You've got the fire in the belly to get it done properly. And with 1,000 employees, that's a tremendous workforce that you have. And all those projects has been mentioned with the police stations, the libraries, everything that engineering does. I know you'll be able to handle it well. But your desire to have that position generated so long ago and to see it come to fruition today is really a pleasure to stand here and to show my support along with all of my colleagues. And I wish you well in that position. Stay a little longer than Vic stayed, because I know he didn't stay as long as we wanted him to stay, but I know that your term with the city is long and it will remain productive, and congratulations to you. And thanks for applying for that position, because I know it hasn't been an easy task, but it'll be a fulfilling task and a pleasure task for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dudlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Morning.
Just, I want to echo a lot of what my colleagues have asked already, but just a question. The agency's done a great job taking care of our aging bridges throughout the city of LA. In fact, want to applaud the agency on what you all have done. Is there anything you could offer to some of the groups, community groups that are out there right now who are interested in trying to look at sort of the next 10 years in restoring some of the most beautiful bridges in LA, some that obviously go over the roadways and the highways and so forth, but this seems like it's been a real success story for the department up to this point, and just any thoughts on that?
Well, we're always willing and wanting to meet with the community, and so we'll be glad to help if there's, any partnering we can do with grant applications or looking for funding. It's obviously always a concern, but under Clark Robbins' direction, one of our deputy city engineers, he's done a wonderful job with our bridges. We're in the middle of our seismic retrofitting of the bridges, and we'd be glad to work with any of the community members who are interested, because it's definitely more than just a job to us. It's definitely a passion, and so we'd be glad to work with the community.
Well, and to echo what Dennis said and others, just it's going to be a big challenge, but it's great to hear from Councilmember Smith that we have the best of a very competitive pool of candidates before us, and we all wish you much luck and looking forward to working with you. So thank you for being here and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dudlow. Other members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, let's open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
We're
much.
expecting great things from you. Forthwith on 13, please, and forthwith on 33. And before proceeding to the next item, let me recognize Councilmember Zine for an introduction.
Mr. President, colleagues, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Deborah L. Olson. She's from Chicago, Illinois, visiting the city of Los Angeles with the Board of Supervisors from Chicago, Illinois. Deborah Olson, if you please come forward and they could put your pretty face on camera here. Step right over there. There you go. So the people around Los Angeles know that Chicago's coming out to view Los Angeles and see all the wonderful things we have here. And welcome to the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, Councilman. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here. I appreciate your hospitality and very excited to learn about the many things you're doing here in Los Angeles. I know you're doing a fantastic job for your district.
Thank you. And don't judge us on the bus strike and the market strike and the sheriff's blue flu. We have peace and tranquility most of the time. Welcome to Los Angeles. Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you,
Zine, I
Mr.
think
President.
they've weathered a strike or two in Chicago. Supervisor Olson, I just want to thank you for everything Chicago has done to allow me to root for Dusty Baker again. Good luck tonight. Madam Clerk, item 38 out of order, please.
Yes, Mr. President, that was called special for a card from the public. I understand that card has been withdrawn, so that matter is before council now.
Yes, we're ready to proceed with item 38. Unless there's members wishing to be heard, unless there's discussion or questions, let's open the roll on item 38, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 15, called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. May I have, do we have staff here from GSD that answer some questions?
Do we have staff here on item 15?
I just was going to have you maybe explain to me the thinking behind this, because when I first saw this on our agenda this morning, I had some concerns because it basically said that you would enter into agreements with communication companies to put up cell towers or antennas without council approval. So you can imagine I was very concerned because when I think about the city-owned facilities just in my district, if you were to negotiate an antenna or a cell site without council approval and without input from neighborhood councils, I can see that being problematic for me, not for you. So maybe you can explain to me what the thinking is and how the council office will still be brought in and how neighborhood councils will be brought into the process.
Yes, good morning. My name is Greg Wilkins from the General Services Department.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear? Is that better? Okay. Greg Wilkins, General Services Department. This program was developed as a response to our initial efforts to deal with telecommunications providers who wanted to use city sites. In that competitive atmosphere, their decision process is very rapid. They identify a site and they want to develop it and get on the air with it quickly. And our process with the committee system and review by the CAO and reports and all that was taking too long. They would look at a site, they'd be interested in it, but before we could ever get any approvals, they had moved on to some other site in the general area that met their needs. So we developed a streamlined process in order to try to capture some of this revenue stream that's out there. And through working with the Municipal Facilities Committee, we tried to put in enough review and checks and balances so that the department wasn't out there all alone. The way the process is designed to work is we take a proposal to the Municipal Facilities Committee that has representatives from the council and the mayor's office and CAO, and get their approval. And then we take it to the council office where the site is located, and whatever approval process the council office wants to invoke, such as neighborhood councils, in-house review, or whatever, is all it's provided for in the process. The city attorney's office, as part of the development of the program, has agreed to develop a standardized lease for us. These are pretty straightforward. We've agreed with the public safety agencies and other city agencies that these will not be co-located with city telecommunications facilities. No fire stations, police stations, sanitation yards that have radio systems. We're not going to be offering those up. These will be sites where there's no competition with our radio systems, and it will not interfere.
That's fine. I'm more interested in the process now, because it looks like you're trying to change that process.
Yes.
The original one where you had council office, you had neighborhood councils, you had, how do you, for instance, say someone wanted to come and put a cell tower on the brand-new Point Furman Lighthouse. City-owned facility,
Well,
how would that work?
that's under the Department of Recreation and Parks and not part of, no recreation and parks facilities or
No
property
recreation and parks
is
facilities.
involved at all. This is strictly council-controlled under General Services Department authority. So it would be street maintenance yards, fleet services yards, any city facilities that do not have public safety transmitting equipment on it already.
Okay, so, but still, say someone comes to you and wants to negotiate a lease, what's the process that you would like to move to?
After analyzing their request, if it seemed appropriate, we would take it to the Municipal Facilities Committee with a standard report laying out what it is requested, what the terms of the lease would be, and make a recommendation, probably in favor if we're going to take it that far. If the Municipal Facilities Committee approved, then we would contact the council district office, the council office, or where the telecommunications site would be located, and then work with them through, actually this program predates community councils.
Right. See, my problem, colleagues, is it still looks like this process brings in the council office at the very end. You've already gone through this Municipal Facilities Committee. You've already, worked on the simple negotiation lease. And my fear is if you're trying to streamline it, which I'm not opposed to get the council office involved at the end, and if it was my district, I would then turn to my neighborhood councils and ask for their input on locating a cell tower at this particular site. But it seems like you're now circumventing area planning commissions.
I think the city attorney is correcting me here.
Yes, Susan Fan, Assistant City Attorney. Just looking at the ordinance the way it was drafted, it actually would be approved first by the council office before going to municipal committee. So
Okay,
that way the
that's not what
council
he
office
said.
would have the initial choice and control before sending it on.
Okay, so you still come, okay, that's not how you explained it.
Yes, I got it backwards. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
reversed.
Okay, so the council office would be notified how soon after someone has made an interest in a particular site?
That'd be the first step, to notify the council office. We wouldn't want to spend staff time developing a lease
That was my
agreement.
point, yeah.
Right.
Okay, and then then it's up to us to open up the process however we see fit.
That's correct.
Wouldn't it be easier just to have it go through the area planning commissions, which would sort of encompass the council office and neighborhood councils and community?
We would, well, I think the way it was drafted was not to deviate any more from the normal process for leases. Leases don't go through the planning commissions. It's a
But
different
this is kind of
function.
a land use issue.
Somewhat. I mean, they would need all land use permits anyway. You couldn't have a telecommunications facility there if it wasn't permitted by the land use rules. So they normally wouldn't have to issue a permit or anything like that. It's simply a matter of contracting with the city and then the city getting the rent.
Well,
It's more similar to a contract.
Yeah, I mean, colleagues, I can see the issue about streamlining it, but ultimately, it's not going to be general services which will get the bad press or the angry neighbors or the letters to the editors. It will be us. So I just want to make sure that in this process, we're included in the loop. This is an ordinance I would certainly like to, relook at in a year to see whether or not it worked properly or not.
Right.
Mr.
I have
Ray,
a
is there a second on that motion?
Thanks.
Ms. Miskowski seconds. Mr. Reyes.
There's a point that was raised in regards to the land use. If the entitlements are there for these particular uses, whatever property might be designated, if it's entitled and they're not asking for any exemptions or variances, would still go through the process of with the different entities that you described.
Right, because essentially it's a lease with the city. It's a contract with the city. They'd be using city property, and so they'd have to get our permission, and this is the process for getting the city's permission to put these facilities on the city's property.
So even if it's zoned and by right it allows for that use, it would still have to be reviewed.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Members wishing to be heard on this item? If not, we have a HON motion before we take a vote on the entire matter. Let's open the roll on the amending motion. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
Unanimous. And a vote on the entire matter. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 29, call special by Councilmember Perry.
Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to rise to highlight the significance of this issue. As Mr. Villaraigosa and I are the individuals who represent the greatest number of homeless in the city, I felt it was very important to break this issue out from a report that was being prepared by the department to highlight the significance of working directly with the Skid Row community to provide them with an amenity as those of us who represent various parts of the city fight for and advocate on behalf of our constituents, which is the Dash bus or a Dash route, to enable people to avail themselves of larger parts of our city, social services, medical assistance, the libraries, things like that, to be able to help those who are on transition and recovery attempt to live a more mainstreamed existence. So I'm pleased that we have made it to this point and look forward to the final outcome.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Other members wishing to be heard on item 29? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 30, call special by Councilmember Labange.
Mr. Labange.
Mr. President, members, the representative, Pauline Chan from the Department of Transportation, is making her way to the chambers. Could you hold it on the desk?
Sure, we'll hold it on the desk.
Thank you.
Ms. Mizikowski also wanted to be heard on that item. We'll hold it on the desk. Next item, please.
Item number 36, call special by Councilmember Garcetti.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have an oral amendment. Colleagues, this is the transmittal that we had in Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee for really the coordination of a program, Cradle Through College Opportunity Package, using a small amount of city resources to try to leverage a lot of entitlements that are out there. We do a poor job here in Los Angeles for our families, and our families do a bad job sometimes of accessing the entitlements that they qualify for. For instance, the Earned Income Tax Credit, which this deals with, only about half the families that qualify for that actually get it from the federal government. That's about $5,000 per family, per working family, that could be right there on the table to help meet their housing needs, their nutritional needs, et cetera. Second component is literacy monies, healthy family money, Cal grants, all those areas in which we do, unfortunately, a less than stellar job. So this is an opportunity package to bring this together. We'll be bringing it back to folks to help publicize this, just as we did with Free Cash for College, in your communities. But the oral amendment I'd like to add is that the position which is indicated that it's just an earned income tax credit position should read Earned Income Tax Credit and Cradle Through College Initiative position, so that that person will be able to deal with all four programs. Okay.
Okay.
And I urge your support.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Garcetti. This Earned Income Tax Credit, I think, as Eric mentioned, is something that is not fully utilized by so many people who are eligible in Los Angeles. So those of you that are listening today, I hope that you will find out, call about it. It is something that helps some of our poorer communities that could benefit from this type of a tax credit, and some of the other programs that are mentioned, as well as the Cash for College and other programs. But I think that we hopefully can do more and work with you, Eric, to make sure that we are publicizing it. It's been challenging even when I worked for the mayor and when we worked for HUD to try to explain to people that this is something they would be eligible for. They should not be afraid of it, and hopefully to make it easier for people to access it. So just want to support this campaign that you're on in ways in which we can maybe be helpful to educate our citizens. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Mr. Villaraigosa.
Yes, members, thank you, Mr. Garcetti. I authored the earned income tax at the state level. It's a very popular, or earned income tax credit. It's very popular. Both Democrat and Republicans have supported. In fact, this was Ronald Reagan's favorite tax credit back in when he supported tax credits that help working people. And so I commend Mr. Garcetti for doing this effort. Not enough people are taking advantage of this tax credit. It's a very important way for us to address some of the folks living in poverty currently to reduce their tax burden. So thank you so much, Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. Other members wishing to be heard on item 36? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That item as amended is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 51 was called special by Councilman Villaraigosa, and I believe he needs to step out on this item.
Yes, item 51. I believe for a recusal. This is a special event on USC.
Yes, Mr. President, members, I worked for SC for a year and a half, and I've been told that I am conflicted until November, at which time there will have been a year that transpired between the end of my employment contract and so I cannot vote on this matter.
Okay, let's give Mr. Villaraigosa a minute to step outside of chambers. Okay, let the roster reflect. Mr. Villaraigosa has left council chambers. We have 14 members present at this time. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, and we can invite Mr. Villaraigosa to return.
Item number 60 was called special by Councilmember Labange.
Mr. Labange. Item 60.
I just wanted to make note, members, on Tuesday, September 2nd, at 1:40 a.m. in North Hollywood, a tragedy occurred where two people were murdered. Michael Tardino and Christopher Monson were victims of a double homicide. The detectives up at Robbery Homicide have asked that this be put out for a reward to try to get information for the arrested conviction. And I just wanted to bring this to note to everybody of this tragedy in North Hollywood of two victims, Michael Tardino and Christopher Monson, and ask for the public's, if anyone has any knowledge on this, to contact the Los Angeles Police Department, 485-2531, the Robbery Homicide Division. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Other members wishing to be heard on this item? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. And Mr. Labange brings us back to item number 30, an item you called special. Mr. Labange, item 30.
I'm just looking, I asked this.
It's a common mistake.
Excuse me? Okay. Could you give a report on it? That'd be good. I just think some members had an interest on this. This is the Neighborhood Traffic Management Fund. I think it's all very important to learn about this. From our Department of Transportation Council Liaison, if you could please.
Thank you, Councilmember Labange. I'm Lan Nguyen with LADOT. And in working with CD4 in implementing a neighborhood traffic management plan, Councilmember Labange saw a need to put the funds that were contributed by developers into a special fund so that it can better be tracked, so that the whatever implementation that the developer was required to implement was able to be tracked. And so right now, developer funds come into the DOT trust fund, so Councilmember Labange's motion would allow the controller to set up a trust fund for us to put those funds into.
Yeah, thank you. And members, I think it's just appropriate when there is a project that there is mitigation, that it stay in the area and not get sunken into some fund, so that there's a project going on in the 14th District that impacts Boyle Avenue and 6th Street. boy, it stays in that neighborhood so it could improve it. When the project on Highland Avenue that the city supported so strongly at Hollywood and Highland, that the money stays in the area so that we can make the improvements that are necessary. I just think, members, we all have to be very focused on all these various funds because, as we know, in the coming months, the budgets are going to get tighter, and every little bit counts, so to make sure that your communities get their fair share. And I want to thank my colleague, Ms. Misikowski, who seconded this motion, too, because the importance of matching the development and the mitigation monies that go for the traffic in the neighborhood plans. Thank you.
Ms. Misikowski.
I rise to second this. There have been, over the maybe half dozen years and maybe a little bit earlier, different transportation funds that are set up by developer monies. And we have different ordinances, but it hasn't been tracked perhaps as well as it should. So I think this allows the Transportation Department to create the Neighborhood Traffic Management Fund. There will be subsets of it where each developer giving to a certain area will be bounded by that area. But it allows in some areas where we have somewhat overlapping funds or somewhat overlapping projects to benefit from the fund in an area. It allows business improvements districts, if they want to contribute. It allows other access, MTA funds, or percentages that we get from different projects to be folded into this. It's a way of tracking it, it's a way of maximizing it, and it's a way of ultimately ensuring that the benefit from these funds and reporting and accounting that will come from them get submitted regularly to the Transportation Committee, that can be tracked with the Council office. I know I have some projects in the areas of the district that I got after redistricting that it's unclear as to where the funds are, who tracks it. There's one fund that's nebulous to do all sorts of things, and it's, as I say, it's hard to track. I think the Transportation Department has a good track record to make sure that these will be well managed, but again, mostly provide that opportunity. When we're looking for projects, when we're looking for resources, we can look at the Neighborhood Transportation Management Fund, most often governed by, or at least having input from our neighborhood councils as well, as to whether this project or that makes sense. But it's a good accounting principle to have the Transportation Department have access to it, know what's available, and help all of us and our communities, our neighborhoods, augment the kind of thing that they really want for their protection. It also gives them the ability to sometimes hire a consultant to work with the neighborhood groups to look at a menu of opportunities and things that a neighborhood might seek and can consider and then approve in the expenditure of the funds. So I think it's a good accounting, good auditing, good practice to really elevate this now to a neighbor traffic management fund that we'll all know about. We can look at every budget year and see what's going, and particularly in the sub areas, and look at what has been successful and not to help transfer to other areas as well in concept when they can help get their own money from various sources.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support. I think this is a great idea. Can you give me a sense on how it actually works? When a developer comes in to do a project, is it a percentage? It depends on the mitigation plan that comes out of the EIR? But how do you determine the amount of money that goes into this fund?
Well, in my experience, it's a combination of, it could be either case, where the funding comes out of the developer because there's a need to mitigate traffic that has been shown to be an impact in the EIR process. But more often than not, a lot of times it is about addressing the residents' concern through a set of negotiations between the developer and the city agencies and the council offices and the neighborhood groups. So, and in determining how much to give, oftentimes we come up with some potential measures that the residents are looking for and kind of give a ballpark estimates of what those potential measures might cost. Then later on, we would do more detailed analysis and then settle down on a final set of measures.
And can this money be used for stop signs, speed bumps, traffic lights, any kind of traffic mitigation calming measures that the Department of Transportation suggests?
Absolutely. They're intended to be used to implement any of the tools in our toolbox for traffic calming to address the problems of excessive speeding and excessive traffic volume.
And we will get regular accountings of our neighborhood transportation fund?
We would be glad to provide accounting when requested, and we can provide you with all of our accounting books.
Would a major entity like the Port of Los Angeles, when they constructed a project that clearly had traffic mitigation efforts have been approved, would they actually pay into this fund?
It is, the fund is an administrative place where we can place any sorts of traffic calming funding for traffic calming plans.
So you're saying yes?
Yes.
The harbor could
Yes.
put money into this neighborhood traffic
Yes.
fund? Yes. You gonna say
Actually,
something?
generally, developers going through the planning process would be required to put certain amounts of money into the fund, and that's what would trigger and,
Is it similar
memorialize
to the
what...
1% art, is how that's triggered when they go through the planning process and they pull a permit, they have to pay 1% to the, it's not automatic?
No, it's not
It's
a
only if
percentage.
it's been determined that there needs to be traffic mitigation?
Right, in the planning process.
Or it's negotiated?
And when a developer is making contributions, that is done through a project approval process that is approved by the city council. So a lot of times we have unique conditions that are set as part of the developer project approval process.
What kind of outreach are we planning to do to alert neighborhoods that this is now going to be an effective way that they could actually begin to mitigate traffic concerns in their neighborhood? At this point, almost unless it's a controversial project, would neighborhood councils be aware that they could be involved in negotiations with developers to get this kind of money into a neighborhood traffic mitigation fund?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I would imagine that the neighborhood councils are notified about any potential development project that comes around to their neighborhood. So
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
It still doesn't work like clockwork.
then I would imagine that that's the first place where you need to make the improvements to make sure that they are aware of the development projects coming on board.
Could we have I'd like to suggest as a part of this that we have an official, I don't know whether it would be the DOT, that would actually go out and begin educating neighborhood councils on this neighborhood traffic fund.
We can do that, sure.
Could I get a second on that?
Let me, and if I could emphasize that this is an administrative fund for funds that are already coming in because of council action.
Right.
So there's no, it's there because the conditions are placed on the developer to do
Right.
this. So.
But I just know my issues in my communities are all about traffic mitigation issues, and mainly because of a litany of development projects that have created traffic jams. And when neighborhoods sign petitions for speed bumps or request stop signs or stoplights, usually the first thing they're told is there's no money. There's no money in the budget for speed bumps. So this seems to me like this could be a fund that would be able to, neighborhoods would be able to access for things like speed bumps.
If indeed there are funds provided by the developer for that area.
Right.
That's correct.
Right. And if not, it seems to me that they could start working on that with future projects.
Yes.
I think my concern is that nobody knows about this, so that's why I included this amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Reyes. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. When we have CRA projects, and they have mitigation issues because we're developing a project in the district, like in Chinatown, I have projects that overlap CRA jurisdiction with the city. How would this fund perform under that context? Does CRA maintain its funds and how it deals with mitigation? I mean, how are we approaching that? Where's the coordination there?
Are these funds for neighborhood traffic calming? Certainly, this fund would be available for contributions of that nature to be deposited into, but if it's a fund that is flexible. It can receive any sorts of funds as long as it meets that purpose.
So all the monies, all the mitigation funds that come from a project, they all go to this fund first, or how is it tiered? I mean, what's the pecking order?
I think this fund, the Neighborhood Traffic Management Fund, offers a place. It does not have to, it is not required that you have to put it there, but if there is a more appropriate place, like a CRA account or a community account where it is more appropriate to be placed, then it could be placed there. There's no, I don't think the ordinance will be written in such a way that it requires all traffic calming funds to be placed here. I think it offers a default place for it to be placed.
Okay, so then, okay, I got you. I just want to make sure I understand when I'm working with these projects that I'm getting the appropriate direction and how we're going to be moving our resources to deal with these impacted areas.
Right. And I would imagine whether it's a CRA project or developer project, that some kind of council action will be needed to appropriate funds into this account or into some other fund where appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Other members wishing to be heard on item number 30? Ms.
Point of
Hahn.
clarification. We would need a council action to appropriate monies to go into this neighborhood traffic management fund.
Yeah.
So every time we would like to see these funds from a developer, we would have to take a council action. Is that what she said? That's what she said.
We may do it as a part of a normal action on a plan approval, which says, we'll set up this, et cetera. So I don't think it's specifically on the traffic fund, but it's part of a whole development approval that we're approving everything and just sending that money out there.
Right. The fund is just an administrative place where you can deposit funds for under this common purpose of calming traffic on neighborhood streets. So that it is available so that if a council member or if the council approves a development project, they get contributions for all different purposes. But when there is a contribution for traffic calming, here's the place where you can opt to put the funds for better administration of the funds.
Thank you very much. Other members wishing to be heard on this item? If not, let's proceed with the vote on the item as amended. I don't think there's an objection to Ms. Han's amending motion. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
This is a time for comments from the public on items not on council's agenda.
And there are no requests from members of the public to address the council on city matters not appearing on today's agenda. Public comment for today is closed. Next item, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Motion shall be posted and referred.
There is an excuse on the desk. Councilmember Smith requests to be excused Friday, November 14th to arrive at 11 a.m. for city business. A motion is required.
Okay, Mr. Parks moves. Excuse is approved.
And that clears the desk, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. This is the end of our agenda today. Are there any announcements? Mr. Labange.
Thank you. Among many things, over the weekend, both your presence was felt, and that of Council President Padilla and Councilman Antonio Villaraigosa at the 55th Annual Columbus Day festivities at Casa Italiano on North Broadway. I stopped by the Italian Hall and sent greetings from all of us to them, and we're excited about their weekend. And salute the Italian Americans for Columbus Day and all the work that Italian Americans have done in Los Angeles, and mentioned the great name of John Ferraro, which they all applauded in the chamber that we sit in here. And also, members, I know we all signed a proclamation, but today is John Wooden's 93rd birthday. And John Wooden, I know Councilmember Parks issued a resolution in his honor, but I wanted to stand for John Wooden, who I've had the pleasure to meet over the years, and know of his great work for young people and students and athletes for the University of California at Los Angeles. And finally, Mr. Parks, I know you weren't here Friday, so I didn't say anything, but it was October 6th, 1923, where the first game was played at the Coliseum.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there, I know that. But it was USC versus Pomona, and no question USC beat Pomona. But that was almost 80 years ago. So a little history for us. Thank you, Mr. President, for those moments.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Other announcements, colleagues? Mr. Ludlow?
Thank you, Mr. President. Two things. One, I just wanted to rise and say thank you to a couple colleagues. As indicated, this past weekend we had our first neighborhood council retreat in the 10th District, and I wanted to thank our Council President Padilla and Councilmember Labange and Garcetti, Councilmember Villaraigosa for all being there, and Chief Bratton was out. It was a really, really empowering weekend for neighborhood councils, and I really appreciate it. And then secondly, she'll never say it, but our colleague Councilmember Gruhl was honored by Tree People this weekend, and they gave her this wonderful award. She was up there with Jamie Lee Curtis and Ed Begley Jr. and all these great celebrities. So anyway, congratulations to our colleague Wendy Gruhl.
Other announcements, colleagues? Ms. Perry?
Reverend Byrd, who is here on behalf of his nonprofit, Say Yes to Life. He is a member of Los Angeles Metropolitan Churches, a consortium of churches in South Los Angeles, working hard to create more after-school programs and to conduct gang intervention. And I don't know if this is the proper time. He just wanted to say a few words, if that's all right.
Just briefly, please.
Briefly, thank you so much. Our organization is Say Yes to Life. 3 weeks ago, or about a month ago, this council chamber, to a person, talked about the importance of after-school programs and the education for our children. We got from that your desire to participate in whatever processes could take place in order to help that situation. We are a supplemental services provider under the No Child Left Behind program, and as such, we interface with LAUSD. There are 192,000 children in the city of Los Angeles who qualify for after-school programs that are paid for under Title I. They qualify by reason of the fact that the school that they are attending has failed them for at least 2 years in a row as it relates to the standardized testing. They also qualify because they are low-income children and qualified under Title I for free or reduced lunches. Out of the 192,000 children, there are fewer than 10,000 who are now enrolled as of the deadline of the 26th of September through LAUSD. 192,000, 10,000 enrolled because it's parent choice and because the word has not gotten out to these parents to help them to make the kind of choices that they need to make on behalf of their children. So the deadline, the final deadline is December the 4th, at which time all of those children will be left behind. We need you, please, to assist us and the other supplemental services providers when we call your office to please assist us with the power and the authority of your office so that we can do what we need to do to get the word out, to go door to door, to whatever we need to do to try to leave none of these children behind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you. Other announcements, colleagues? Members' announcements? Mr. Villaraigosa?
Fall within announcement. Tomorrow I'd like to do a motion, members, from the council to LAUSD on this issue. 10,000 out of 192,000 kids on this program is absolutely unacceptable. They've made some effort, but clearly not enough. The new deadline is in December, and we've got to state as a council that we want to work with them, but we need them to move as quickly as possible on this issue.
So, thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. One of your other affiliations is with the MTA as one of our newer board members. Any announcements you'd like to make regarding the work stoppage?
Members, I think there are two members that are going to do a motion possibly tomorrow with regard to that. You may have read that both me, the mayor, and I believe Mr. Labange, or Mr. Ludlow rather, and Gloria Molina are all conflicted on this issue. It doesn't mean we can't make public statements, but we can't vote or in any way participate in board actions. We are looking into whether or not that means, we can participate in some way, because as we all agree, this strike is going to have a devastating and disastrous impact on the public, frankly, and so.
But in the meantime, I know other municipalities, including Los Angeles, are looking at expanding temporarily more localized services to try to offset the impact, and riders from throughout the region are checking for websites where they can get ride share and carpool information, again, to try to minimize the impact on their daily lives. Mr. Labange.
I just want to ask the city attorney, we are going to ask our general manager of transportation here tomorrow, possibly, if it's okay with the president of the council, to give us a little review of what can be done. We're trying to work all these details out as it affects everybody, but traffic is going to be extremely congested because of this challenge that they're faced. And I, as a MTA board member, know they're working very diligently to try to bring what is two separate sides together.
Okay, thank you very much. Other announcements? Mr. Reyes?
On that point alone, the issue of respecting what the workers are trying to do, where we are also balancing the needs of the transit-dependent folks. That's the delicate balance we're trying to achieve, and we are trying to communicate with the folks who are making these decisions, so that I have a motion that I'd like to present, but I'm being very careful about it, as well as Councilman Labange. So hopefully tomorrow we can come to some conclusions.
Thank you. Other announcements, colleagues? Any other announcements? Mr.
Alex
Labange?
Baum is in the chamber. It's good to see Alex Baum. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. If there are no other announcements, do we have adjourning motions today? Please rise for adjourning tributes. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Padilla. It's with great sadness that I rise today and ask that you join me in convening and adjourning in memory of a friend of mine, Dan Magel, who appeared before this body about a year and a half ago. Dan is was an international lawyer who specialized in international law and human rights. I came to know him in our work together as board members on the International Criminal Court Alliance, when he was one of the voices here in Los Angeles that demanded that the international community fulfill its obligations laid out after the Nuremberg trials, that we have a permanent international criminal court which would go after those who have committed genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. And Los Angeles had one of the most powerful voices in that movement. He became the chair of the group and was active, originally native of Iowa. He was just in his 50s and unexpectedly had a heart attack a week and a half ago that I just found out about a couple days ago. But Dan was a voice of incredible intelligence, a man who stood up for justice, whether it was in our backyard or an ocean away. And it is a great loss for Los Angeles and the world that he was taken from us way too early. Native of Iowa, but an import out here to Los Angeles. He surely made his impact here, so may he rest in peace.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I would like to ask that we adjourn today in memory of Carlotta Carbajal, who was the mother of my Director of Constituent Services, Irene Mendoza. Carlotta was born in 1915 here in the city of Los Angeles, and she was always proud that her father and godfather were cement masons who worked on the City Hall and on the Hall of Records here in downtown Los Angeles. Carlotta was a pioneer parishioner of St. Margaret and Mary's Church for 60 years. She was known for her beautiful crochet work and hospitality. In fact, she just had crocheted something for my new granddaughter and had crocheted some slippers for me earlier this year. Her doors were always open to everyone. She was preceded in death by her husband Felix and her son Felix. She's survived by her children Irene, Alfonso, Richard, Ruben, Monica, Rosalie, 16 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren. The Rosary and Vigil service will be held Thursday evening at Gamby's Mortuary in Lomita, and the funeral mass will be at 11 a.m. on this Friday at St. Margaret and Mary's. My condolences go out to Irene and her whole family. And Carlotta always told me that no matter what, she said a prayer for me every day, and she said a prayer for the mayor. every single day. So those prayers will be surely missed. I hope someone takes up that vigil, particularly for the mayor.
Mr. Labange.
Yeah, members, I think we should adjourn in memory of William Shoemaker, Billy Shoemaker, the great jockey who grew up in El Monte, and in reading his obituary, it talked about his love of horses and getting a job in high school, training horses, being around horses, and then finally getting his first shot at Bay Meadows, and he won his third race, and then he had a great partnership and throughout the life, and just a wonderful man who achieved greatness here in the racing industry. Is one of the greatest jockeys of all time, Billy Shoemaker, who was a great pitcher when he came here to this chambers years ago in visiting Big John Ferraro. It was quite a sight to see Big John and Willie Shoemaker, but God bless Willie Shoemaker and all that he did as a great athlete and a great lover of horse racing.
Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to ask members to join in journeying in memory of somebody who's touched many of our lives in sometimes indirect ways. But Joan Kroc passed away this past weekend, and it's interesting. You don't think you'd ever have a personal story with somebody that is so wealthy and has done so much. But I remember when I was much younger, she had contributed money to create the swimming pool at USC after the '84 Olympics, and it was designed to be a pool for the community. And I'll never forget maybe one of my earliest acts of civil disobedience trying to get into that pool. And a group of us ended up sending a letter to her, and she actually called USC's president and said that pool is for the community. She gave endless amounts of money to efforts to prevent war and poverty around the world, and just is going to be missed. Arts, humanities, literacy, when you talk about children, this has really been a family that she and Ray Kroc, who gave a lot to the United States, and obviously going to be greatly missed.
I'd like to second that.
Other tributes? Mr. Parks.
I would just like to also add what Tom said earlier about Bill Shoemaker. Having met him personally after his accident, he was one of the most gracious individuals, and even for the last several years of his life continued training horses, even though he couldn't ride. But here's a guy that was born 2 pounds. He never went above 95 pounds. And was quite an athlete, riding a 1,000-pound horse that he was definitely in control of, but 4'11", 95 pounds. And talking with him, he's one of the few jockeys that never had to carry weights on the horse. He was always too light. And so, but one thing I think that he will be missed. He left as the second leading jockey in the history of the sport, but what he'll be remembered for is 11 of the Triple Crown victories, from the issue of the Preakness, also the Belmont, and then the most famous Kentucky Derby. And so I just want to add to that because of having met him in the last few years.
That tribute will be by all members. Other tributes?
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
He was in a wheelchair. In fact, what was scary when he ate, they had a guy that was with him, had to pound him on his chest so he wouldn't.
Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.
You are watching LA City View, Channel 35. Your city, your channel.